Three children, one man, two different portrayals. My opinion, the book empathizes with the children, but the show empathizes with the man. Why is that important? Let's get into it. So this is gonna be my first video in my series on the differences between the book portrayal of a series of unfortunate events, and of course that's the source material, and the show a series of unfortunate events. I know there's a movie, but that we all know that does not follow the book at all. And so I mean, to it, like, it follows the book to some degree, but it's just not accurate. Like, it just not. And so I count the movie as something completely separate. To me, there's the book and the show. So that's what we're going to compare it to today. I might be looking over here because I have notes written down. I literally wrote down, I literally had the book in front of me and was watching the show at the same time and wrote every single difference that I found. So I'm not going to go over every single little excruciating detail that's different, but I'm just going to go hit the overarching points. So back to what I said in the beginning about how the book empathizes with the children, but the show empathizes with Olaf. We don't see that a lot in the first episode. It's really more along the, like, further down the line you see that. I think, but I do think with what, so the show is like, it's portrayed more as a comedy type thing, not necessarily more drama. I mean, it's a little bit of both, but it's more funny. Like, you're supposed to think that Olaf is funny. You're supposed to think that his troop is funny, that they're stupid adults that are silly, goofy. He just wants to be an actor, and like, he's so into that. And I don't know if it's because they're trying to like portray how, like, I guess silly adults can be compared to like children who are more like, you know, serious, for lack of better terms. But I feel like that does a disservice to the children, because at the end of the day they're still children, and I feel like it really adultifies them a lot. And so that's why I feel like with the book shows, like, I feel like it has a good portrayal of them as children, like their faults as children. They cry in the book, like they get hurt physically, like they're humans in the book. But in the show they're almost like these adults who are just like dealing with these idiots who are just so happen to be in charge of them. And I think the comedic portrayal in the show takes away from what is happening that these children are going through. This man tried to marry this girl to get her money, okay? And basically implied that he was gonna kill her afterwards. That's not silly, goofy. Oh, like, no, that's kind of messed up, okay? And but I still stand by my stance that the existence of the VFD makes the show worse, because it kind of like gives a purpose for why they're going through all this stuff, even though in the end they really serve no purpose. Like, it's just so ridiculous. But that's another discussion for another day. And so that's another thing we can talk about, the VFD so far in the book, which I don't think it exists. I haven't read the book, so I can't definitively say it doesn't. But to my calculations, the VFD does not exist in the books. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. And so that makes the books, I feel like, more realistic. Um, I guess less sad to me, because reality is reality. I feel like it's easier to just say, dang, we in a bad situation, versus we're in a bad situation, but we have to hold on hope because maybe someday it's gonna pay off. It never paid off in the show. It never paid off. And so that's why I feel like the show is worse, because it gave the kids false hope and just like distorted their view on reality. Also, not to mention, back to the point of adultifying the children, I feel like adultifying them in the show lessens the blow of how serious the stuff is. Like I said before, like, it makes it seem like they can handle it, if that makes sense. But it's not that they can handle it, it's that they have to handle it. They're having to handle this. They're having to go through all this stuff. And that's what the book is telling you. It's just telling you straight the event of what's happening to these kids, how they're choosing to go about it, but they're going about it as children, more as children, which is, it's like that shows more of the discrepancy. Like, these are actual little kids who, yes, on one hand are a little smart, but at the end of the day they're kids, and they're in a bad situation that they have zero control over, and they're surrounded by all these adults who are making these decisions for them, and they're not even listening to them when they're telling them what's going on with them, and they're treating them more like an inconvenience more than anything. This video is getting kind of long, but one last thing I want to touch on that I have written down is I feel like the show kind of glorifies the kids' parents as well a little bit more. And it's just like, but in the book, I feel like the reason that the kids are put in Count Olaf's care in the book, it says the children are to be raised as conveniently as possible. That's what it says in the book, okay? And versus in the show, Mr. Poe says they're supposed to be raised by their closest living relative. And I feel like that's a really distinct difference there. I don't know quite how, like, I don't know if they're gonna expand on their parents later on in the books, but that's just interesting to me. That was interesting to me to see the difference there. Yeah, I think that is all I have for the first episode. Cause like I said, it ends at chapter 5 in the book. Um it's just like the kids cry in the book, but they never show them really crying in the show, in my opinion. Like, they get kind of sad, but it's just like, it's not, I don't know if it's just like, if it's just me, but it just says it doesn't come across as truly like sad, like, it's just, I feel like the betrayal in the book is way more depressing in that regard. They show it more, but the show, it just commodifies it so much, like, it doesn't even like come across, like, you kind of gloss over it, in my opinion. um but yeah, that's my analysis for scene one. Sorry, the episode one. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to look over all my notes just to make sure those are the points that I hit. Let me know if you have some things that you notice as well. And yeah, this is the first of many. Hopefully next week I'll definitely post the next episode of this series, and I hope you guys like it. Thank you. Have a good day. I love you guys. Bye.